Let's make one thing clear from the beginning. There aren't that many Starfield reviews out there. In fact, there's none. Reason for this is because Bethesda have said that the embargo date for Starfield is Thursday, August 31st, just one day before the release of the Constellation Edition. But with that said, there's been many leaks and there's been things that's happened over the last year which do give us a good indication of what to expect with Starfield. So let's go through it. Going all the way back to November last year in 2022. That was the original release date for Starfield. That was when it was supposed to release. But Bethesda ultimately delayed it to early 2023, and then ultimately again delayed it to the current date, which is the 6th of September for the standard edition, and also the 1st of September, which is the Constellation edition. Now, the reason I bring this up is not to throw salt in the wounds to those that did pre-order over a year ago, but to give a better understanding of workflow. According to what has been leaked, what has been said from developers and from Bethesda themselves, was not there to add additional content. With everything that has been revealed, this year has been there solely to improve what they already had, what already existed within the game. This means going through optimization, trying to remove any bugs and glitches, as many as possible, improving graphic settings and the overall feel of the game, and was not there to add additional mechanics to the game or any other types of new settings which weren't there before. It was just about improving what already existed. Bethesda clearly wants to stay away from the absolute mess that they delivered with Fallout 76, which was just a complete buggy, broken game on release. Now, of course, there will still be bugs and glitches because we're talking about games here, and there's not been a game ever which has never had a single bug, glitch or issue, because naturally there will always be things that cannot be tested within a game studio, which ultimately, once hundreds of thousands, millions of players all get access to the game, that's when those issues start to arise. But it's nice knowing that they have taken a year to try and get as many of these issues fixed. So it's not the case of us going through character customization and 90% of players facing the exact same issue from the moment that they start this game. Great to hear. Fast forwarding all the way to January of 2023, this is when we started to get some leaks about those who were part of QA for Starfield. QA being quality assurance. These are the people who would be playtesting the game, making sure that it doesn't have any major issues or flaws. And this is when we first started to hear how playtesters were blown away from Starfield. And the reason for this comment comes on two separate notes. Firstly, even at this point, it was said that Starfield will be the title to release from Bethesda with the fewest amount of issues on release. This was then also followed up later within a year once we started to get Starfield Direct, where Todd Howard as well as other developers said a similar thing. This was also flown around quite a bit on various podcasts and also from other content creators. The second reason why they were blown away from Starfield was because it was bigger and more ambitious than what was previously expected. We of course now know that there will be over 1,000 planets, each of those explorable. About 10% of those will contain life. All of them will have something to do in terms of exploration, dynamic events, quest lines, and there's more than 250,000 lines of dialogue, which completely overshadows Skyrim, which had 60,000 lines. Since then, 9 months have passed, and in that time, I find it hard to believe that Bethesda have gone backwards from that initial point, considering this 1 year delay, according to Bethesda themselves, wasn't really needed, but supposedly they decided to delay it in order so that they can make it as good as possible for release, so that there will be next to no major issues. In recent weeks, on the 17th of August, that is when copies were started to release for those who would get early access. Not early access in the Constellation edition where you have to buy into the premium edition in order for you to get it on the 1st of September. No, I mean those who would get access to the game in order for them to write up reviews. This gives them sufficient time to play a good portion of the game early in order for them to put together an opinion which would then release on the 31st of August. Now, these copies have been shared with confidence, hoping that journalists would not reveal any information to the public, and 99% of them have stayed to their word. They have not released any information. There have been reports of those who have had access, but even in those reports, they still say that they can't say anything about the game. However, that 1% have revealed information. There was even gameplay that was shared that highlights the first 40 minutes of the game. And for those that did leak any information, whether it was just a simple tweet explaining how they felt about the game, or whether or not it was full gameplay videos, overall, it does appear to be positive. There are some negative points where people say that you do need to read quite a lot at the beginning of the game, but I can't speak for everyone. I myself somewhat expected that. With 250,000 lines of dialogue, you certainly need to have an enthusiastic team who enjoy writing. So I was confident in moments where they could type up something, they most likely would. In terms of gameplay itself, it's been said that it's quite intuitive when going through the initial introduction, which does show you the gameplay mechanics for Starfield. And we also know gameplay in terms of controlling your character, moving about, getting into combat, or just exploring also feels very nice on a core functionality level. The biggest selling point though is from what people are saying, what has been leaked, is that Starfield in itself is more or less a bug-free experience from what has been played so far. Yet again, reiterating what I said right at the beginning of this video, yes, Bethesda delayed the game by a year in order to fix as many issues as possible, but that is not going to be the case of them having fixed every single issue. There will always be problems with games because it goes through an iterative process. There will always be bugs, there will always be glitches. And as developers fix one issue, there will be another one that pops up in a completely different area, especially when we get to expansions and DLCs within the future. There are simply things that cannot be tested within a studio that when it does finally arrive to many players, they will always be able to go and find something. But with that said, you want to limit these issues as much as possible, because any issue that you do face, of course, then ruins immersion, and once you ruin immersion, it does mean that players are less likely to continue. They may close down their Xbox and just stop for the day, which of course is not what any game developer wants. So to hear that already it's not a complete buggy mess is a good sign. But that's where we get to our final points. Just because there are all of these leaks, yes, it is a good indication, but at the exact same time, we still cannot trust these, not 100%. Even in that 40-minute gameplay leak, which I've talked about but tried not to go and take too much information from it, in itself, the review was useless. It didn't really give much information. We just was able to go and see gameplay, which is no different to what has already been revealed from Bethesda themselves. We also need to take into consideration that 99% of those who do have access to the game have not said anything, so we're only hearing 1% of the full story. And we're not going to be able to hear any more until the 31st. And as always with reviews, just because a reviewer says that a game is either good or bad, or they liked some aspects but didn't like others, doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the way that you feel. There are games out there which many people have hated, but I've loved to play. And likewise, there's games that I've hated where there's been many other people who have loved to play them. In some of the leaks that have been revealed, Starfield has been described as a different type of game. And that isn't going to sit well for every single player who actually buys the game. So with this video, yes, take it into consideration. There are definitely positives to take away, but at the exact same time, don't get overexcited just yet. The release is just around the corner, and for you to truly get an idea of this game, there needs to be way more people playing it, sharing their opinions, whether that be from journalists or just your average person who likes games, and maybe a content creator or streamer, maybe even develop an opinion for yourself. If you're excited for the release, then I highly recommend clicking our next video, which is now on screen. That video goes through all the things that you must do right now if you're a hardcore player and you want to get ready for the Starfield release. Click that video and I'll be over there to guide you through absolutely everything. I hope you enjoy.